I am Dr. Titus Reaves, Assistant Professor in the Department of Regenerative Medicine and Cell Biology and co-organizer of the Ernest Just Scientific Symposium held on the campus of the Medical University of South Carolina. This is the story of Dr. Ernest Just, arguably the finest African-American scientist of the 20th century. Ernest Just was born in 1883 in the southern American city by the water, Charleston, South Carolina. His parents were Charles Frazier and Mary Matthews Just. His siblings were Inez and Hunter, and the family initially lived on Inspection Street and later moved to Calhoun Street in Charleston. After his father, Charles Frazier, died, his mother, Mary Just, saved money and purchased land from the Hillsborough plantation and named the area Maryville after herself. Maryville is located west of the Ashley River, where Mary Just started a school, and later Ernest was a teacher. Mary ran the town, and it was one of the few areas in the United States that was inhabited and run by African Americans. Ernest Just was 13 years old when he enrolled as a student in the first class of the Colored Normal Industrial Agricultural and Mechanics College, now referred to as South Carolina State University. It took only 3 years for Ernest to complete his course of study, and in 1899 he received the degree Licentiate of Instruction, which was a professional degree for teachers. At the age of 16, he began his teaching career in the black public schools of South Carolina. Realizing the importance of education, his mother encouraged Ernest to travel north to learn more. Thus, Ernest left Charleston for New England seeking additional education. Ernest Just worked as a day laborer in New York City to earn money for tuition to attend a private school, Kimball Union Academy. He was Kimball's only African-American student, became captain of the debate team, class valedictorian, and somewhat of an athlete. He also attended Dartmouth College, where he became very interested in biology. In 1907, he graduated magna cum laude with honors in sociology, history, botany, and zoology. He was the only African-American man in his graduating class of 287. In 1908, Ernest accepted a job at Howard University to teach English. He was also appointed head of the Department of Zoology in 1912. Also at Howard, he served as professor in the medical school and head of the Department of Physiology. Howard University's biology building bears the name Ernest Everett Just Hall. The hall was designed and constructed in 1956. As a digression to his academic determinations, on November 17, 1911, 3 Howard University undergraduate students, with the assistance of their faculty advisor, Professor Ernest Everett Just, began the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. The event occurred in the offices of Professor Just and in the science hall now known as Sterkill Hall. The students were Edgar Love, Oscar Cooper, and Frank Coleman. The name Omega Psi Phi came from the initials of the Greek phrase meaning friendship is essential to the soul. The phrase was selected as the motto. Manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift were adopted as its cardinal principles. In 1909, the famous zoologist Frank Lilly brought Dr. Just to the prestigious Marine Biological Laboratory at Woods Hole as his research assistant. Just was 26 years old and still taking classes in zoology. Initially, Just worked as a waiter to defray the cost of tuition. Dr. Frank Lilly was first introduced to Just by one of his teachers at Dartmouth College, William Pattern. Pattern urged Just to write to Lilly about research opportunities. Dr. Lilly was head of the Department of Zoology at the University of Chicago and director of the Marine Biological Laboratory. At the time, the University of Chicago was considered one of America's top universities, on the same level as Columbia and Harvard. From the beginning, Lilly was very impressed with Just's intelligence and ability to work hard. Just would arrive at work long before Lilly came and would leave long after Lilly left. Both men were of strong will, got along well in their work habits, personalities, and outlook on life. In 1916, Ernest Just earned a Ph.D. with a thesis in experimental embryology from the University of Chicago under the direction of Dr. Frank Lilly. From Dr. Ken Manning's book, The Black Apollo of Science, which was published in 1983, in the late 1920s, the Woods Hole community believed Dr. Just was a genius in the design of his experiments, and his contributions to the field of embryology was seen as fundamental in the United States and abroad. Due to the racial injustice of pre-World War II America, Just sought opportunities abroad. Reinhard Dorn invited Dr. Just to the Naples Zoological Station in Naples, Italy. Just was there from 1929 to 1930. Adolf von Harnack invited Just to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, Germany. Just was the first American invited to the institute to perform research, and he was there from 1930 to 1933. Charles Perez invited Just to perform research at the famous Marine Biological Station in Roscoff, France, and Just was there from 1938 to 1940. Dr. Just was married twice, once to Ethel Highwarden and Hedwig Snelzer. He had 3 children, Highwarden, Maribel, and Margaret, all by his first wife. And Dr. Just passed away in 1941 of pancreatic cancer and is buried in Suitland, Maryland. In terms of his legacy, he received the first Springard Medal in 1915 given for excellence in science by the NAACP, published over 50 papers between 1912 and 1937, wrote 2 books, The Basic Methods for Experiments in Eggs of Marine Animals and The Biology of the Cell Surface. In particular, in The Biology of the Cell Surface, Just postulated that we would gain insight into life's origins by understanding how boundaries define living cells. Just was placed on the United States postage stamp in 1996. His work in embryology is presented in the 8th edition of Developmental Biology by Dr. Scott Gilbert. The Ernest Everett Just Scientific Symposium in Dr. Just's home city of Charleston, South Carolina, has been in existence for 10 years and is sponsored by the Medical University of South Carolina. Here we celebrate the scientific achievements of Dr. Just. It is organized with a history segment where historical facts about Dr. Just not widely known are presented, a role model segment where prominent African American scientists or physician scientists give pearls of wisdom to the students in the audience, and a science segment where prominent scientists involved in the research related to Dr. Just give presentations. The symposium is held every year in February during Black Heritage Month. And there you have a brief synopsis of arguably the finest African American scientist of the 20th century, Dr. Ernest Everett Just.